Evening, freaks. I'm here to drop in with you tonight. I'm sure you were anticipating the usual tagline, but today is a very special day. Today is Freya's day. Um, I'm going to be releasing this at the witching hour, so it'll be at that liminal space, that in between place. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, okay? We're going to drop into a little history tonight. We're going to talk about Friday the 13th, what the roots are of Friday the 13th, how it came to be known as a bad luck day, and what the real is, all right? I really wanted to drop into this tonight. I'm really enjoying this energy. Friday the 13th is a very special day for me. It is a power day. I am on the path of the witch. It is a witch's power number. There's a reason for that. It's very much associated with goddess. There are 13 lunar cycles in a year, all right? And the old astrology, this is coming in very strongly before I even turned on the camera tonight. Freya's energy was really bringing in this piece of getting in harmony with those 13 moons, starting to work with those lunar energies, moving in harmony with the lunar cycle, and the beginning with new moon is a wonderful time to do this because the new moon is going to be on January 21st in the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is that swords element. And well, swords are very fitting for Freya because Freya is Our Lady of Layam or Slayam, right? She is associated with that Venusian energy. Friday is her sacred day, Friday the 13th, especially because, as I was saying, she is a goddess that is very much in harmony with those lunar cycles. She's known as the goddess of love and beauty, but also lust, war, witchcraft. She has another side to her too that many aren't too accustomed with, and that is her gift of prophecy. She actually taught the gods a specific type of prophecy known as cedar. It's a magic to know and change the future. And she has parallels with Odin, who hung from the tree to gain knowledge, much like that hanged man we see in the tarot. Get a different perspective, to enter that way of WYRD, to gain the knowledge, to have that mastery where you can transform fate into destiny. And that's gained through the knowledge of the runes. So there is a piece that Freya's energy brought in about now would be a good time to make a commitment over this next week to open the gateway to that knowledge, the knowledge of the symbols and how these symbols can unlock doors of perception in our consciousness. She suggested taking your greatest challenge, your greatest adversity, the thing you're really struggling with at this time, maybe something you are struggling to find the courage to do, maybe something that requires bravery or facing perhaps a harsh truth. Ooh, Ted confirmed this. To consider areas where you might need to be brave when it comes to love, or you might need to play the rebel, much like Freya has. You see, the church is what kind of created this superstition around Friday the 13th being an unlucky day. And the reason for that is that Freya has close association with the Valkyries. So she's very dear to the shield maidens. The Valkyries are the ones who helped negotiate the fallen warriors' way out of hell to transport them to Valhalla, the afterlife. And because of this, The women have very strong connection with Freya. Freya represents the fierce, wild, untamable aspect of the goddess energy. You know, she holds that Venusian energy, which is so fitting to have this new year kick off with a Friday the 13th in the first month. It's very fitting. It's really carrying forward that energy that's been in play all since last year. The dance between Mars and Venus, always being in opposition to each other. It is very much that love and war. It is the energy that has given Libra its reputation as the iron fist in a velvet glove. That is what Venus is. Venus is not all love and beauty. Love, beauty, yes, certainly pleasure, earthly pleasures. One could say lust comes into play with Venus, those who know Venus, okay, or know Aphrodite. The thing with these goddess archetypes is they're cross-cultural, and that's one of the reasons why I love being on the path I'm on. It's one of the reasons why I love being on the third road, because it's open, it's eclectic, it is able to drink in knowledge from all traditions and understanding that they all bear a connection. Now I'm going to go into that more this year. I really just feel called to just kind of like share on this level and open up conversation around these things for people that are curious or people who are wanting to learn more, people who are wanting to grow, or maybe people just to have an opportunity to gain a different understanding of what it means to be a witch, because there's a lot of falsehoods out there. There's a lot of demonizing of the witch, and it's truly uncalled for, to be honest with you. In every tradition, every spiritual tradition, you have people who move out of pocket, right? That's human nature. It's human nature, this free will. You know, sometimes it has people acting out of their more base natures, acting out of the shadow. We saw a lot of that over the past year with the Scorpio South Node. We've all been moving through, working through our shadow work. A lot of our own shadow stuff has come to the surface, okay? And we're in that process right now of transmuting that energy, moving up into the Taurus North Node, where we know our worth, we know our value, you know, we have our foundation. But we are going to have that same interesting energy dynamic between Mars and Venus when in July, the nodes change and the North Node becomes Aries and the South Node becomes Libra. So this love and war energy, this Mars and Venus energy, it's very much a theme that's continuing to run through this year, through 2023, much as it did in 2022. And we're also going to be able to learn how to find the balancing point within that. So Freya holds all those energies, right? Holds all those energies. And we will always all hold those energies. Humanity will always all hold those energies because everything is interconnected. It's all one energy. And that's something that comes through so often. Something that comes through so often. You know, just every time I go down a rabbit hole, you know, sometimes different goddess archetypes call me in. I do work with them like archetypal energy. That's just how I relate to it because I feel there is no separation. I feel it's all one energy and we're all different expressions of that energy. Yeah, even when people are acting out of their lower natures, it's still that one energy acting out of its lower nature. It's kind of a radical way to look at things, but my perspective is very all-inclusive. It's wide open. It doesn't believe in absolute truth. It believes that truth is very subjective and that truth can change and that one person's truth may not match my truth, but that doesn't mean it's any less true for that person. So very open perspective I have, and I really enjoy looking at the threads of connections between different goddess archetypes cross-culturally. It is amazing. It is amazing. And I think there's a lot of people out there who would like to know more about that too, because this is like kind of fostering unity consciousness, right? Bringing people together. Thing is like Freya in the Norse tradition, also Germanic traditions. Freya was just so beloved, especially by the women, that when the church tried to, convert people away from their heathen roots, they could not get them to give up. They could not get them to give up Freya. They were too devoted to Freya. All right. Freya held it down, man. All right. Freya is the way forward. If you are dealing with a challenge and you need to tap into your courage, you need to tap into your self-esteem, you need to tap into that place inside of you that can focus, that's going to get there, that's going to do what needs to be done. Freya is a great one to have in your corner, man. Freya is a great goddess archetype to invoke. But the thing is, too powerful of a feminine representation, and certainly at that time. So they had to demonize her. It's a very similar story to Lilith. They had to demonize her. They demonized Freya for being empowered and for inspiring empowerment in other women. Okay. She is the one goddess that they have not been able to anoint as a saint, as if they have that power, as if anybody has that power. But they couldn't give her that sainthood. They couldn't give her the sainthood because of her associations with earthly pleasures, with sex, with lust. She was a body broad, right? She did what she wanted to do. Very headstrong, very fierce energy, but also very sensual, very indulgent. Okay. All of it, just like we are, right? Just like we are. And there's this thing about, hedonism can be a beautiful thing because it reminds you of the beauty and the joy of being given a physical body. I mean, there's a reason why we have taken on this earthly existence, and it's not to suffer, but to really savor this garden of earthly delight. So I thought it would be fun. To dive into just like a reading. And this is very loose and free flow tonight. More of those love readings are coming, so don't worry, okay? I'll have more of the love readings coming tomorrow. I know everybody always wants to know about the love, but hey, we're going to let Freya weigh in on the love. Let her bring a little wild wisdom forward for us, okay? Help us tap into our strength, help us have the courage to face the truth, to be able to take risks, have daring, to move forward. The guidance that really came forward was it would be very cool if you feel so pulled to use this next week leading up to that new moon in Aquarius to maybe take your concern, like your greatest adversity. See, I went down a rabbit hole. I never finished it. I went down the rabbit hole and I went for a ride. This is always how it is anytime tapping into these energies, but take your greatest adversity or that big thing that you're grappling with, okay? The thing you want guidance about, where you feel like you need empowerment, strengthening in your life, where you need to have the courage, the daring, the moxie, to go after what you feel called to go after now, to live your life by heart, to go for the thing that really like turns you on. All right. Take this with you and just do some walks. And when you go on these walks, look for some stones and set about creating yourself your own set of runes. All right. And when the new moon comes, all right, charge them up in that moon because new moon is dark moon, right? You can't see the light, but it's still there. And there's something about charging these up and consecrating them on new moon that's going to be very potent in leading you through the territory up ahead to that time when you will step into the sun. It's like this energy very much coming through. We're moving out of the dark, right? But in order for us to really move forward in a very empowering way, it's necessary for us to have a little daring. I feel it's about having a little daring to trust where we're being led, to trust our own guidance about what our next steps need to be. I think a lot of people, with everything we've been muddling through, have really, these cards flipped up. I'm using the occult tarot tonight, by the way. It felt appropriate. It just felt fitting. I love that Mars just went direct too, and we got this, Freya's day. It's so fitting. It's just kind of like a precursor to that energy to come in. I want you to think about that energy. So Libra is about balancing, okay? It's about balancing the scales. It's about finding the harmonizing point. It's also about love. It's about relationships. It's certainly about lust. I know as a Libra, the reputation as Libras have, okay? And we're looking to find that balancing point, okay, with the the 7 of Swords, okay. Well, I really saw it as balancing, okay. Look at the caduceus, the balance of the yin, the yang, very much that same energy of the masculine, the feminine, that Venus, Mars. It's interesting because Freya really holds both, Freya holds both. She holds both the masculine and the feminine. She can hold both the Mars and the Venus energy. Very interesting. I feel almost like Freya is an archetype that's really coming in, that's going to forge the pathway that leads us to that change in the nodes of destiny. When that Taurus moves into Aries and when that Scorpio moves into Libra, that's going to be a really potent shift, and it's going to be a balancing point. I feel like it's a point of karmic balancing and transformation. All right. Transformation of the 7 swords energy, right? 7 of Swords, it's always that feeling of deception, trickery. I feel like the ways that we trick ourselves, the ways that we compromise ourselves, play games with ourselves as if we don't know the messes we get ourselves into at times in matters of the heart. The ways we betray ourselves when we don't trust our intuition. And it's interesting because I'm really picking up this karma piece with this. It reminds me of that Libra South node, right? The balancing point, this very much looks like karmic balance to me, is what I'm getting from this image. This is 7 of Swords. Andromalius returns items and punishes thieves, reveals hidden treasures. Balancing point. I feel like there's something here. There's something here. It almost has the feel of somebody trying to interrupt somebody's path forward, trying to block someone's path forward by sort of swiping away what was at the finish line. Maybe some of you are feeling this in matters of the heart. Maybe you're feeling that somebody blocked your way to your blessing, especially in terms of matters of the heart. You might have been dealing with people sneaking around on you a lot. Some of you may be feeling still a lot of sense of betrayal around this. Some of you may even be in a vengeful space. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because there's this piece about you can trust karmic balance, right? The scales always end up evening out eventually. And there's this piece with the caduceus there about not worrying about meting out judgment in this case. It's not about that. It's about what these experiences have taught you and how you've been able to work with the energy, how you've been able to alchemize that energy. finding the balancing points within yourself and transforming that shadow energy, that Scorpio South Node energy. There's been a lot of that kind of, third party interference kind of energy, things that need to be healed in relationship. You have to remember, we've also had Chiron and Aries. Okay, so there's been all this oppositional movement. And then we're moving into that Aries North Node in July. Okay, and Libra will be in the South Node. So there's this big foundation of healing that has been solidified and put in place by that point. And this is about not looking to fix the other, not looking to hold others accountable, but only being accountable for yourself. You see, Freya doesn't really go into this victimhood. Freya knows that if something was going on in your connections that felt disrespectful, that wasn't just, that wasn't right, that you damn well knew it, that you sensed it, you intuited it, you may have even questioned it. And when they told you a lie and you knew it was a lie, you believed it. See, that's the piece that Freya wants you to hold. Why did you abandon yourself like that? Why did you ghost yourself like that? It's about getting that part back. Your inner knowing, your trust in yourself, your dignity. That's the real hidden treasure. What does it matter? What does it matter if something can be stolen? It was never yours to begin with, right? So it's about having the courage to face these harsh truths, right? This is what brings balance. This is what brings balance. Those who operate, out of that kind of mindset, covetous mindset, 22 on the clock, they lay their own foundation for their destiny. You have to think of it that way. Because when that South Node moves into Libra, you can rest assured that the scales will be balanced. That's what it's about. None of us get to escape that. So that's something that's going to be very front and center for everyone. And it's interesting, right after this, we have the Knight of Wands, fire sign collective, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. We're talking a lot about that Aries energy moving forward. This is Batin. Teaches the values of herbs and stones, transports anyone suddenly from one place to another. Yeah, I think this is really speaking of what we're building up to this year. And this is what's wanting to come in. There's very much this energy, like when I was tapping into just Freya's essence before I tuned in to do this read and sort of like discussion of the roots of Friday the 13th and how the church came to call it a bad luck day to dissuade people from loving dear Freya, who had captured their hearts because she made them believe in themselves. I was getting this real essence with Freya, very similar to like that chariot energy. It's about finding that balancing point, like between the head and the heart, between the love and the war, between the Venus and Mars, finding that place where the two like merge instead of diverge. That's like the balancing point that moves things forward. And that's when the chariot moves forward. That's when we move forward. And I feel like that message is very much coming in around the nodes, what's happening with the nodes. So I see this as moving forward with passion, with purpose. Things are going to start moving forward now because we did have Mars go direct. But the thing is, it needs that air to come in to feed it. It needs the air to come in to feed it. And that comes in with that Aquarius new moon. So it would be so great, right, to have like a set of runes that you gathered through, seeking on your walks as you're holding this peace, seeking the guidance of what's needed, what's needed to move forward in the most empowering way, the strongest way, the way that leads you to your destiny, the way that leads you to those hidden treasures. And I really feel like that's what we're beginning as we move into Aquarius season. And it's really going to culminate with that change of the nodes in July. I feel like, again, isn't that funny? We talked about stones, and I'm just noticing this with the Knight of Wands, teaches the value of herbs and stones. And we were talking about making stone runes. Um, I will put a link, I will pin it in the comments um, to some resources around runes. So if you're not really familiar with runes, if you want to know more about it, it is a form of divination, but they go really deep. It's like working with runes is like a journey. When you work with runes, you step on the way of WYRD, right? It's almost like I feel like Freya is issuing forth an invitation to step into the way of WYRD, to experience what she taught, right? To what she taught the gods, this cedar, this ability to see and know the future and how to transform it. All right. I feel like this is really like, this is this hidden treasure. This is this gift she wants to reveal to you. But she wants you to earn it. She wants you to earn it. She wants you to start bringing forward, like, what is your quest? Consider this as you move through this week, all right? Just think about that as you're moving up to that new moon in Aquarius on the 21st. Consider, where does your passion really lie? Where are you feeling compelled to move forward? You know, it's probably that thing where you feel held back, right? So wherever your frustration is also kind of giving you a clue as to where you need to put energy so you can move forward. And this would be something good, you know, something to take into these meditative walks as you gather your stones to make your runes. When I think of herbs too, I think a lot of really also sort of preparing the way, you know, making the way clear. I feel like this would be very beautifully done with incorporating plant allies, herbs, with doing things like smoke cleansing. I've been feeling really drawn to do a lot of smoke cleansing. I go through different stages with it. Sometimes I really feel drawn to it, and other times I don't. You know, I like to use other methods for cleansing the energy, but something about this, something about the ancestors really wanting smoke right now. Uh, for those of you who know, like, the ancestors are really wanting their spirit candy, man. They're really wanting their tobacco. Okay. There's something about this. So maybe as you move through this week and you bring forward um, the questions you have, your need for guidance, what your next step should be, how you can find the courage you need. In some cases, your might to overcome what's holding you back, what's holding you in that space of the Seven of Swords, where really you're only robbing yourself of stepping into your destiny, your true purpose, what you're meant to actualize now, right? This is Sage and Copal, by the way. I just love Copal. It's just such a beautiful energy and attuned with that energy of love. And Sage is often used for protection, much like Freya was called on for protection when going into battle. You know, some of you may feel like you are in for a battle. You may be extricating yourselves from some difficult situations. So create some space to meditate on that this week. Just, where are you feeling really challenged? Where do you feel like you need to rise up? What are you feeling is missing that's keeping you held back? Is it a block? Is the block coming from within? Is the block coming from without? Just really get in touch with these things. What's inhibiting your forward motion, and seeking that guidance, and, you know, take it outside, get in harmony with the flow of nature, get some walks. You know, this is a journey for power. This is a quest for power. I'm really feeling that, you know, with the horse energy here. And there's this piece, right? Transports anyone suddenly from one place to another. And what I feel this is really talking about is what we've been talking about with that cedar. As you work with the runes, as you work with these methods, like creating this sacred space around these quests and these queries, and you take it out into nature and you connect with that energy, you tap the roots, whatever your roots are, whatever your spiritual roots are, um, your cultural roots, your bloodline roots, they have special magics for you. This ancestor energy is wanting to come forward, and Freya is just coming through as the messenger. Um, Freya is very special to me because I was actually born on Freya's day. I was born on Friday, October the 13th. And for me, it was very much a good luck day, very much a good luck day. I was very overdue, very, very overdue. And they were starting to get concerned about my well-being, so they induced labor. And when I was born, I was blue. I had no respiration. I had no heartbeat. And they were trying to get me to breathe, and they hadn't been able to get me to breathe. And they were just about to give up. And there was a new doctor that was in the birthing room, and this doctor was like, this was his first birth, and lucky him, lucky him, on Friday the 13th, this had to be his first birth, and he just said, can we try intubating her? And they were like, sure. He just didn't want to give up, and I'm glad he didn't, because that's what got me to come back into my body and go, all right, I guess I got to be held accountable to going through this life. I always joke around that I knew what I was in for, because it hasn't exactly been the easiest life at all times, but it's okay. I've cultivated a lot of resilience, and I've also had a hell of a lot of fun along the way. So I hold a bit of that Freya energy. I know how to balance both that fierce side and the more gentle side. And I'm learning. I'm in the process, always learning, always growing, finding the balancing point. I'm getting better as I get older. So it's a very special day for me. It's a power day for me. And I don't find the bad luck. I don't find the bad luck around Friday the 13th. I just don't. It's not about that for me. It's about tapping into this energy, tapping into the power of it, tapping into the wisdom that's been suppressed, that's been hidden, which is those goddess mysteries, right? Goddess mysteries, the 13 moon lunar cycle, those initiation points. And I feel like this is an initiation. It's an initiation with passion and purpose that moves us forward into that destiny. Gaining this kind of knowledge, working the path in this way gains us entry into the way of WYRD, and it's what allows us to step into that destiny, because we learn how to transmute the energy. We learn how to come into that place of alchemy, that place of healing and integration that is the caduceus, And it's interesting. This is really coming through strongly, for fire sign energy. So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. I really feel like Aries very strongly. Aries coming forward front and center just because of the Mars action that's been going on in these parallels. Also, I really feel Leo energy coming through strongly with that too, because we do have strength right here. Vine. Builds towers or destroys stone walls, causes rough waters, finds witches. Okay. And there's that horse energy again. Horse is all about power. Horse is all about power and moving forward. And it was interesting, this piece about the herbs, and it's just making me think of all the plant allies, and it's making me think of ashwagandha, strong like horse. You can get powdered ashwagandha. There's certain conditions you don't want to use it with, like in particular, like any kind of immune condition, or if you have hyperthyroid, that's not a good idea. And it may have some interaction with some medications. So, I'm just sharing knowledge here. It's up to you to research with your physician if it's compatible for you to explore. But it is very invigorating, and it is very much kind of like a Freya sort of plant ally, because it makes one strong like horse. So it brings you into that place of like your power, but it also is known to have like that aphrodisiac quality. It brings in virility, potency, it's energizing. So that might be something really good to work with too, especially those of you who are feeling a little bit of sluggishness. Maybe you've been dragging like some old energy around with you for a while. That's the thing about energy. Whatever is happening on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on an intellectual level, is certainly happening on, a physical level too. And especially if you've been moving through this energy of this like Seven of Swords in the love department, where you've dealt with a lot of betrayal, or where you've dealt with people cheating or doing things behind your back, or severing your trust in some way, ways that have put you into a place of maybe feeling resentment, anger, wanting to get revenge, these kind of feelings. That's a heavy burden to carry with you. It's going to weigh you down. It's going to bring your energy vibration down. It's going to impede your forward motion. And in every sense, will also cause a huge physical energy drain. So this piece coming in about take care of the physical body, take care of the physical body too, to move out some of that energy when you are feeling frustrated because things just feel stuck, or when you are feeling angry or snappy, because you've been holding this pressurized feeling for so long, because you've been moving through some kind of, heavy stuff, or you've been in that push pull of that Venus Mars, you've been dealing with, that love and war dynamic in your relationships. And it doesn't just have to be in romantic relationships either. It can also be within, friendships. Ted said, ooh. Maybe you felt like that within yourself. Yeah? Have they, Ted? Yeah? Feeling at odds within themselves. You might have felt pulled in two directions too. If you're having a tug of war within yourself, between your head and your heart, that can really tire you out as well. So there's this like piece coming in about, your strength. Your strength really is in, finding the way to calm those waters, right? Because when the waters are really turbulent, when the emotional waters are really turbulent, you've got this fiery emotion going on. It's just bubbling up, and everything is rising to the surface, and it's like clouding the water because you're so like immersed in it. You're drowning in it. You can't see clearly. The best thing to do at that point is kind of the opposite. It's like the antithesis of what you think you should do. And it seems so counterintuitive, but it's to move into this place where it's very Sun Tzu, Art of War. Like this is coming in strongly. And if you have not read that book, you should. Everybody should read that book. Sun Tzu, there we go. There's like cross-cultural, like these ideas, these thoughts, these energy signatures, okay? We're talking about Freya, we're talking Norse, and Sun Tzu comes in, all right? Check out Sun Tzu, The Art of War. It's helpful in matters of love. It's helpful in interactions, period, across the board, in any kind of interrelational dynamics, in work, business, you name it, okay? It's very much that energy about knowing when to yield to advance, okay? I feel like this is very much strategy coming in. It's like Freya wants you to have strategy in moving forward. And strategy comes from that place where you're not just ruled by your loins, and you're not just ruled by your emotions and the endorphins and what you're feeling in the moment. You're also able to really tap into that intellect, your wisdom. You're also able to work with, if you're working those rooms, you're also able to work with that entry into that special magic, that cedar, where you can start to know the future and therefore gain mastery over your steps, because it teaches you alchemy. Alchemy in action is what it is, really. It helps you understand what's coming and the best way to greet those situations. This is very strong, this need to, find that balancing point, okay? Find that balancing point where the rough waters can settle, You know, the turbulent emotional waters can settle. This gives you clarity, because there's one thing between, you know, moving forward with decisive action, passion, purpose. And there's another when it becomes reckless because it's impulsive. It's all red. Maybe you see red, you know, okay? Maybe you see red. Maybe you tap into that Mars energy too much. Maybe you get too impassioned. Maybe you get too, I got belligerent came in, you know, needing to have things your way, needing to push forward mercilessly, you know, relentlessly. All right. Having an agenda, being impulsive, not having the forethought about the long game. You know, strategy is about the long game. Freya is about the long game. Very, very much so. So I feel this is very much talking about coming to that calm balancing point. You know, move your body. You know, horses are also about movement. So moving the body is a great way to release that pent up energy, that excess fire. It clears the head. You know, it allows fire rises, comes out the crown, clears the head. You can even, you know, just really like rub your head vigorously, give yourself a stimulating crown massage, okay? And that will allow that excess fire to travel up. Use it the next time you're feeling really frustrated, or when you feel like popping off on somebody. It makes a difference. Also, you know, cool off, take space, step outside, get some fresh air. There's a reason why these things are kind of like, we hear these things common. It's because they work. They work, and it's working on an elemental level, you know, understanding that elemental play in your life. So I feel like there's this piece coming in about, you know, your strength is in being able to find the balancing point, that temperance energy to hold both the fire and the water. Okay. The fire and the water, right? There's all that liminal space energy, just like that new moon energy is a great time for initiation. It's a liminal space. It's dark moon, and it's at the point, you know, in between where there's just a sliver of light and there's darkness, you know. They're coexisting with each other, but we're moving into that expansion of that Aquarius energy. So move into that expansion clearly, and find that balancing point within. You know, finds the witches. I feel like this is for those of you who are on pagan paths. It's about really reclaiming the power of this day. And maybe you've kind of gotten a little out of harmony with flowing with that lunar cycle. Maybe it's time to make more of a concerted, you know, a concerted effort to show up and do something that really harmonizes you with the lunar cycle. This piece coming in very, very strongly, um, because it's important. It's important to remember like your roots. And these are traditions that they survive through oral tradition, like what I'm doing right now, like just sharing, speaking on the information, passing it on. And if you're on that path, you know, it lives through you. And so in a very real sense, it's like Freya's energy got so eclipsed. Her energy and her wild wisdom was eclipsed. And it was eclipsed because of fear, right? It was eclipsed because fear of these women having too much power, and so they're witches, you know, and that's why we've had so much persecution that's occurred throughout the ages in relation to this. I mean, that's what strength is also talking about. It's about strength is about remembering the past and rising up out of that. And so this is very much about remembering the way that so many different cultures, spiritual traditions have been um, demonized by the church. It's about understanding the way that sometimes light holds a lot of darkness. You know, the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. You can't always be fooled by appearances. There's something about reclaiming that light that's within the darkness, the light of the moon, and working in harmony with her cycles. It's so essential right now, especially moving forward for those of us who are on these paths. But I feel like it's beneficial for everybody. And Freya is really just like bringing that energy through strongly. Ted is really talking over here. I don't know what is going on with him, but he is talking of a storm. Oh, and I love this. Look what we got. We got temperance. Crocell teaches geometry and liberal sciences, makes great noises and warms water. Ted has been so noisy. Do you need to go outside? Okay, did you hear him? Okay, Teddy baby. Go ahead, honey. Go ahead, baby. Aw. I love it. He's starting to know how to say different words. It's so cute. Such a sweet babe. Yeah, I feel like this, I'm really getting this energy about bringing into alignment. I'm also really thinking in terms of, when it comes to geometry, we're looking a lot at numbers, we're looking a lot at mathematics. We're looking a lot at the way things align in the universe, where they come together, where there are points of connection. And the liberal sciences, the arts, that's something that's so beautiful about art. And like I was saying before, initially, these spiritual traditions cross culturally. There's these beautiful points of connection. And there's this theme that's really coming through in this read about finding the points of connection within polarity. And I feel like this is so much a focus for us. And the more that we can work on this balancing within ourselves, that shadow and light, allowing the shadow to have awareness held around it and not demonizing it, understanding that the shadow is formed out of wounding. So what the shadow is needing is compassion. It's not something evil to be rejected, but it's very much a part of you. And it's also very much a part of nature. It's the nature of existence. So to deny this is to be severed from the very nature of existence, right? So it's about learning how to hold this in a place of balance and coming to understand its value, the gifts that come from resting in the dark. I have a lot around this. It comes up for me all the time, and I'm talking a lot about fruits, and I really feel like speaking to this. It really pisses me off, this language around black magic or that's dark. I don't like that. I feel like it is such a colonialist mindset. I don't think people realize like how much it feeds the programming of division and separation. Just it's something that people don't even like think about. They don't even really think about. They don't hold consciousness around it, but it absolutely has a charge. And it influences the nature of reality, right? Witches, they cast spells, right? People always think of this in such a negative way. But the reality is every spiritual tradition casts spells. Every human being casts spells. When you speak things into existence, you're casting a spell. When you say a prayer, you are casting a spell. When you hold an intention and you're feeling really angry or you're feeling really emotional and you speak it into existence, you are casting a spell. Witches like to cast their spells mindfully. They like to bring a lot of awareness around what they're doing. And the nature of reality is not all light. Nature is both kind and cruel, loving and harsh. And so as long as there is this rejection of what's been labeled dark or what people call black magic, there's just magic. The darkness, the light, that is in the practitioner, that is in the person who is working with the medium, all right? It is in that person's heart. We all hold it inside of us. It's your choices. Do you choose to act out of your shadow? Do you choose to act out of your wounding? Do you choose to manifest out of your fear, out of your sense of limitation, out of your lack of understanding, out of your weakness? Or do you choose to be conscious and move out of that place inside of you that has learned, that has grokked the medicine of the wound and come out the other side, where you now have been illuminated about its value and the gift it brought you? This is what alchemy is. This is what temperance is. And It's not about creating division. It's not about creating division. And I don't like the connotations of separation it creates. There are so many beautiful traditions that have been demonized by this mindset. And it really needs to change, because it's not just freedom of thought or freedom to have spiritual belief. It is also very much a human rights issue. There's a lot of divisive programming that seriously needs to be unraveled. And it's really time that we start looking at these things more closely and practicing more consciousness around the way we communicate about all this stuff. It just came in, it's something that I feel very I feel very impassioned about that. I don't feel that that is right. I don't feel it's correct communication to have. Black is beautiful. Darkness is rich and fertile and is the place of all potentiality. And all expressions that are found within nature have their beauty, their strength. And I got glory, which is very interesting for that to come in. But it makes a lot of sense to me, because just in sitting with Freya's energy and everything that I come to know about her, and also everything that I love about Oshun, there are parallels. There are parallels. And Oshun also teaches the arts of divination, is wise in the arts of divination, much like Freya. So there's this interesting piece as we sit here pulling cards. And just as I say that, I see Page of Swords, Bodis, gives answers of past, present, and future, reconciles friends and foes. I love that. It's just such a beautiful landing point to come around to that place. Again, it's that balancing point. It's that balancing point. It's interesting that it says reconciles friends and foes, okay? So that's interesting. The places inside maybe that you have demonized or others have demonized, have they become your enemy within? We also look at that place of, uncertainty and connections, where we're not sure, is somebody our friend or are they against us, and Libra energy rules over hidden enemies. Okay, we've got that South node coming in. So I think with the Page of Swords, it's very interesting. First of all, I'm getting this message about be daring. All right, be daring to take some risks. If you're feeling the soul call, if you're feeling that heart connection, if you have the bravery to do the work, to face the challenging stuff, to rise to that challenge, have the bravery to maybe, be daring enough to reach out somebody, to have that conversation that you felt like you always needed to have in order to tie up that karmic cycle, come to that balancing point. And likewise, if there are those who come around that have burned you one too many times, be aware of the past and let that inform your choices, because you may need to, do something out of pocket in this situation in order to balance the scales. You may need to stand up for yourself. You may need to look at the deeper undercurrent in these connections. Page of Swords is very much about, first of all, keeping things to yourself, playing things close to the chest. It's also about building up courage, daring to take action. It is Swords energy, lots of Swords energy coming in, very strong in the streets, swords and fire, that air and fire. All right, so Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, Libra really front and center. So this is about being very mindful and tapping in, getting some answers through doing research, investigation, okay? I feel like it's really bringing in that rune energy that came in. the rune energy that came in really strongly. I think it would be a beautiful sort of initiatory energy into the Aquarius season to work with, to sort of set the template for moving forward into that shift of the nodes coming in quite strongly. Let me get this overarching theme energy here for us, okay? Just, ooh, that came up quick. I love it. So we had death come in. I love this. Look at this. So we have death come in. The eternal cycle begins here, 55:44 on the clock when I said that. And I love it because eights have that meeting point, right? And if you turn them on their side, they form the infinity symbol. Death, life, rebirth, it's all one continual cycle. And just like the Valkyries, you know, associated with Freya, are able to save the fallen warriors from hell and lead them to Valhalla, you also can make this journey too. You know, it's like a moth to a flame, right? Rising up into that fire, working with that fire element to transform, to transmute the energy so you can clear the way, come into that place of passion and purpose. It's interesting because you got remembrance in reverse here, the lamp in reverse. It's heading south, you know? It's interesting. It's interesting because right now they're like moving in two different directions, okay? The way that they came out like this. And I feel like what we're being asked to do is stop focusing so much on the south node and start to turn our attention toward heading north, heading into that north node and that journey. That's what illuminates the way forward. Not spending so much time focusing on the past, but the illumination gained through remembering the roots so we can use the strength to move forward. And I think there's a need to look back in your deep past, this coming in, to look at the warrior lines in your bloodline. Where are those points of connection and what wisdom can come forward for you? There's a need to tap into the ancestral energy. Maybe get a candle going this week too, just to light a candle for your ancestors, invite them in. Maybe bring in some of that smoke for them. Maybe leave them some offerings of tobacco, some spirit candy, and help them set your sights toward that destiny that you're ready to rise into.